Let's start with a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we take roll, please?
Commissioner Scavdall,
Here.
Commissioner Levy,
Here.
Commissioner Mulder,
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill, absent, Commissioner West,
Here.
Commissioner Curriasi,
Here.
Commissioner McFarland.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Ford, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
Yes, Chair, we do. Call your attention first to a letter that was emailed to you for item, I think that's E3, on the consent calendar for VB BTS 2. It's a modification to the conditions of approval. It modified Condition 8 and removed Condition 12. Condition 12 was related to I believe a Forest Service, and there was no Forest Service comment. Going then to item E4, Grouse Mountain Green, there was a supplemental to modify the condition B9 to make it consistent. And then at 4:25 today, we received an email from the U.S. Forest Service that indicated that they are opposed to this application because it's an inholding within federal land, and transporting cannabis across federal Forest Service lands is illegal. The Commission has dealt with this in the past, and we do not regulate access. And so the previous interpretation has been that it's the applicant's responsibility to transport and how they transport. I will note that we did receive a comment from the Forest Service in 2019 that simply said transportation of cannabis over Forest Service roads is illegal. And that was the typical comment. It was just notifying the county and the applicant that transportation across federal land is illegal.
Thank you.
Yep.
At this time, we'll take public comment on non-agenda items. So if any person that's here or on Zoom would like to address the commission on any matter pertinent to the commission's jurisdiction that is not on this evening's agenda, now's the time. So if anybody on the floor, please approach the podium if you'd like to address the commission. And anybody on Zoom, please indicate by raising your hand on Zoom, which I think is *6, is that correct?
Yes.
So if you hit *6 to raise your hand if you'd like to address the commission at this time.
It's *9 to
Excuse
raise
me.
your hand and
star six.
*6 to unmute.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
So to be clear, *9 to raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised at this time or anybody here in person that's approaching the podium. So we will close public comment on non-agenda items and move to item E, which is the consent agenda. We have 5 items on consent this evening. I will read the title to each one, check with the commissioners and the public, both here and on Zoom. If anybody would like to make a comment on this or have a discussion, please indicate that to me at the appropriate time, and we will pull that off the consent agenda and open a separate hearing on that later in the agenda, which happens to probably be following consent this evening because there's nothing else on the agenda. So, the first item is item 1, Humboldt Sanctuary Farm. This is a continuance to continue this project to our March 20th meeting. If anybody would like to address the commission this evening on the continuance of that item, please indicate. Commissioners? I see nobody in the room and nobody on Zoom raising their hand, so that item will remain on consent and will be continued to our March 20th meeting. We have Laurel Tree Charter School Development Permit extension, so an extension for a previously issued permit, a 2-year extension for the charter school. Anybody on the commission, anybody in the room wish to pull that item or on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll move to item 3. This is VB BTS2 LLC conditional use permit as modified by the supplemental condition, adding for structural inspection every 5 years. This is a telecommunications facility located in McKinleyville. Commissioners? Checking in the room or on Zoom for anybody that would like to comment on this item. I see no hands raised at this time. So that will remain on consent. Item 4 is Grouse Mountain LLC, conditional use permit and special permit as revised by supplemental received this evening. Commissioners?
I just have a clarifying question.
Okay.
So for the reduced setback to the Six Rivers National Forest, I know previous projects we have been allowed to be permitted if we didn't authorize the reduced setback for a building, but I just want to make sure that this reduction in setback is consistent with the previous ones that are adjacent to a federal land.
So the setback reduction is for the cultivation. So in all cases where a setback reduction has been granted, it's been for cultivation. So this is being reduced to about 300 feet. One of the things that we look for is that is there sensitive habitat on the adjacent state federal property? And if there is, we take a very close look at that. And what are the comments from the agency that owns the property? This particular case, the agency commented on the road, but not on the setback reduction.
So the reduction to 300, is that a typical number that we go with, or is this unusual in any way? Or is each case individual?
Each case is individual.
Okay.
Are you asking to pull that item, or are we,
No, that answers my question. Thank you.
okay, checking with the public in the room or on Zoom? Seeing no hands raised, we move to item 5. This is Old Harris Farms LLC conditional use permit in the Alder Point area. Commissioners? None? Anybody in the room like to comment or have us pull this item or on Zoom? I see no hands raised. So all 5 items remain on consent.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I'd like to second that motion.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Muldar and a second by Commissioner Levy. Any discussion on the motion? I think we can just take a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. There are no items pulled from consent, so report from Director Ford. Anything to report this evening?
Yes. I do. I'm going to try to pull up just a quick exhibit here. The commission had asked to share about the number of short-term rental permits that have come in, been issued. And so what this chart basically shows, oh, well.
It was there for a while.
Sorry. So I'm going to give it verbally. So we've received 201 applications for short-term rentals. Of those, 137 have been approved, 2 have been denied, 9 have been withdrawn, and 53 we had to ask for additional information, and so they're pending. So we've received 200 applications.
Go ahead.
Can you remind us, what was the county's estimated number of short-term rentals?
Yeah, thank you. It was around 600 to 700.
Interesting.
So I don't know if there are other explanations for why maybe the number is not greater at this point, but well, I'm curious because I'm thinking back to when we rolled out the cannabis ordinances, and at that time, or sometime after they had sort of taken root and been well publicized and all that, we began to do some abatement or send notices where the county saw evidence that people were cultivating without permits. So I guess what I'm wondering is there a need to do that for short-term rentals to sort of, I don't know, start noticing where there's evidence that people may be doing it and haven't yet sought a permit? Or I don't mean to sound too punitive. I just wonder if that's part of the process that will be pursued eventually.
That's a good question. I think part of the reason that we don't have more is that a lot of them will be in the coastal zone. And the Coastal Commission has not certified our document yet.
Okay.
So there's that part of it. The economy may have cooled down a little bit too from where it was. And so I think that that's probably part of it. We typically, from a code enforcement perspective, don't do proactive enforcement. We typically are complaint-based. Cannabis was an exception. Part of that was because people were completely disregarding the laws, cutting holes in the forest and grading the tops off of hills.
Right.
And so that needed to stop.
And I think because it was part of compliance with the environmental document to stop, those activities that were outside of the process.
Yeah,
So,
well, and also don't forget that the first ordinance had a dead sunset on it for accepting applications, which was only about 3 or 4 months.
right.
And so during that period, there were a lot of applications that came in. 2,376 burns a hole in my mind.
And a cash counter at the in the planning office, as I recall.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
I have been asked by some vacation rental owners when the coastal ordinance will be approved and how they will know. when it's time for them to come in and get?
I think probably we'll issue a press release once that gets done.
Yeah.
And I really don't expect it much before the end of this calendar year.
Yeah. Wow.
We
Okay.
took a few of the ordinances that
Yeah.
the Planning Commission recommended approval of, board approved, took them to the Coastal Commission. Two of them, they asked that they get a one-year extension, which they granted to themselves. And that's kind of perfunctory. They do that on everything, so.
Okay. Thank you for the report. Do we have anything else this evening?
We have started a process where people who have not been paying their Measure S taxes and did not enter into an agreement to pay their taxes and owe the department money. There's two different things here. I don't want to confuse anybody. These are folks that absolutely did not enter into a payment agreement with the treasurer tax collector. We're starting to take those forward for revocation. 22 of those are going forward on March 11th.
When you say those go forward, those go to the Board of Supervisors?
Board of Supervisors alone have the ability to revoke.
Can they still have time to negotiate a payment plan if they're interested in that, or is that time up?
That time was actually up March 31st of 2024.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to be tough for everybody.
Through the chair, just for clarification, to initiate that payment plan, just want to make sure correct here. My understanding was that it was $100 per project down payment to enter into that payment plan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if you had one project, you could enter by March 31st, 2024, you bring in $100 and enter into a payment plan. That would have been in compliance at that point in time.
That's all it took to stay off this list.
Okay, thank you.
There is another pending deadline that is causing great angst in the cannabis community, which is that the board ask that farmers pay off their balance for their processing and then enter into the agreement by March 31st of 2024 to pay their balances on their Measure S taxes by March 31st of 2025. That March 31st date is coming up, and so we will be taking an item forward to the board to ask them what they want to do with facts that exist. There's unfortunately a good number that haven't done too much to beyond paying the $100. And so we're going to be looking at options of what the board can do in response.
Go ahead, please.
In terms of long-range endeavors that your department is working on, is there anything that we can look forward to coming to us in the next couple of months?
Yes, in fact, yes. You should have received, and I will verify this in the morning, you should have received a link to the EIR for the Regional Climate Action Plan, because that is now out for public review. And so that will be coming to the Planning Commission probably about May. And then shortly you'll be getting a link to an EIR for the McKinleyville Town Center EIR. We're currently working on an item that'll be a workshop on March 20th for a lighting ordinance, and that will be coming forward to you. We're also working on a noise ordinance, but that's a little further behind.
What was the So you said May for the climate action plan and for the McKinleyville Town Center. What's the estimate?
I'm still going through the proof draft of the EIR right now. And there's a couple of things I want to fix before we release it. So hopefully by the end of next week, if not the following week, we'll release that document. And then there will be the 45-day review. That will probably be around May, June, before it gets to you.
Will you be hosting any public workshops on either of those EIRs?
We've done a number of public workshops on both of them, and yes, we are having a public meeting on the RCAP. That's already scheduled. I'll make sure that we get that date to you. It'll be at the, I believe, the Warfinger Building.
I believe I did see a news article on that one. Yep. Go ahead.
Did you say that the lighting workshop you were looking at March 20th for?
Yes.
Would it be earlier in the day to the Planning Commission meeting?
No, it'll be part of the regular
Oh.
agenda. It'll
Oh,
just be
gotcha.
on
Okay.
the end of the agenda.
That makes sense. For some reason I had in my head it would be a separate public meeting, but that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Curriasi.
I just have a question regarding the EIRs. I was curious if you've ever done a workshop at the Planning Commission for EIRs, or if you've only done them for ordinances, and if so, why? Why haven't you, I guess?
Why don't we do workshops for EIRs?
Correct.
It gets very technical depending on what you're trying to do, because the EIR has prescribed requirements that you need to follow. And so if you have a public discussion, I frankly, professionally try to avoid these. We're doing a workshop, the consultant wanted to do it, but you've got to capture everything that's said, and then you've got to respond to it.
Correct.
And in a public meeting where people are talking over each other sometimes, that's a recipe for disaster, because you sometimes can't capture everything. And so it's better to let people provide written comments so that the comments are stable. You know what the comments are, you know what you're responding to. You can provide a logical comment to something people can see what was actually written, because the written comments are included in the final EIR. That's the rationale for that. But there will be a public hearing on the EIR and the Regional Climate Action Plan. And so the Planning Commission will be reviewing the entirety of both documents. And so there will be lots of opportunity to weigh what's contained in there.
Ultimately, we're not certifying the EIR, though, so what is our role in the?
Making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Anything else for Director Ford this evening? Okay. Any Planning Commission discussion items? Did I beat Thomas's record?
I'll just a reminder, I'll be absent for the next meeting.
The next meeting is the 20th. You understand that? There is no meeting.
On the 6th.
On the
Right.
6th.
Oh, no, I did not realize that. Okay, I will not be, I'll be absent for the non-existent meeting.
Okay. Well, enjoy your time. All right. Okay, meeting adjourned. Next meeting's March 20th. Thank you.